get to where we want to be.
That's really nice.
So yeah, because like and your reel has to be sellable. That's why I'm saying like if your reel isn't sellable, you focus on story, you focus on the emotions because people will connect with that.
Mhm.
I love that it's like this.
That's cute. Um,
Yeah.
that name is
But yeah, no, I love it. I love it. But yes, I'm just saying like people will really like they'll connect with that and they'll really like help you grow. So I think yeah, it's just really important to honestly do spec and yeah, and also another thing that's really important coming out or starting out is collaborate with people that are better than you in any way, shape, or form. Because like for me, I think starting out, I didn't really like to ask for help. I didn't really want to work with too much people because of like combative behavior or just little microaggressions, even in my body. Like people didn't always treat me the greatest on set. So I like to kind of just do solo shoots and do everything myself. But it was only when I started collaborating with other people that my work also started getting better because you're learning from so many other people and you're learning like little tips as you go along. Like if I'm DPing a job and I'm working with a gaffer, like wow, like that's a much faster. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, if I'm working with a gaffer, they might show me something that I already know, but a faster way to do it, or a better way to do it, or something
uh-huh.
like that. And it only happens when you work with a bunch of other people. So I think it's really important to work with people that inspire you, that you think are better than you. If you're a DP, and say if you're a DP that also directs or does other things, then collaborate with a DP that you really admire because you directing something and working with that DP that you look up to will really improve your work because you're working alongside that person. So I think it's just really important to put yourself in the position to work with, yeah, people that you look up to. And even, I'm not saying people that you look up to that are like up here. I'm talking about your peers that are like two steps above you.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because I think we all, well, now my AirPods are, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I think when we're starting out, like we all want to reach out to the people that are like way up here that we have no access to, but there's so many people that are literally like one step above us or two steps above us that we still have access to and we can still reach out to and work with these people. And I think that we take that for granted. Like we take our peers for granted. You know what I mean? Like it's like your friend that shoots that you don't think is super good right now, like they are the next Bradford Young, or this person is the next Ava DuVernay, but it's like we just want to go to Bradford, we just want to go to Ava, but it's like your peers are these people too. You know what I mean? And I think that if you also look at all these people that we look up to, they've worked with the same directors, the same DPs, the same core team kind of growing up, and they're all getting better collectively. And I think that a lot of us don't do that enough. It's
Yeah.
like we're too busy trying to like work with people that are so far out of our reach that we're not trying to grow with our community. So I think that's another,
Huh.
yeah, another super important
That's
thing.
another great
Work with
one.
your peers. Yeah. Sorry, one sec. Where's my AirPods?
Yeah, I could hear you, but the sound was a little funky.
Yeah, so I think that that's another like super important one. It's like, yeah, work with your peers more, work with the people that are on your level. And also like if you do work with your peers, say you do spec or trailer, any of that type of stuff, it's such a fun environment because there's no pressure. Like with spec work or doing that stuff, it's literally just you and your friends have an idea for a brand and you guys figure out a way to execute it. So there's no stress. You guys can actually make mistakes, things can go well, things can go like it actually doesn't matter because there's no pressure behind anything. So I think that's really important. It's like to collab with people that are like on your level.
Huh. I like that. You want to start taking questions?
Say that again.
You want to start taking questions? Like we
Oh
can
yeah,
go
yeah,
on.
sure, sure.
Does anybody have any questions? Anything? Cinematography? Directing? You've done directing as well. You've done.
Yeah, I direct, shoot, edit. The only thing I don't do is sound. I think sound is the most
Hmm.
difficult thing for me and I'm the most insecure. Like if my sound guy can't make it. I literally want to cry. But any other role, I'm like, I can figure it out. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But sound, don't even ask me.
Um, I don't know. No one seems to have any questions. I feel like you covered a lot of bases. Maybe that's why.
I
Um,
know. I talked a
huh.
lot. I talked a lot and I talked
No, no, it's
fast.
great. Wait, where can I? Oh, someone asked,
I love that. Okay, let me
how common are
scroll.
BIPOC cinematographers? That's the first one, I think.
Well, to be honest, I think that BIPOC cinematographers, we've always existed. We just never got the opportunities. So I think, can you please, okay, hold on, sorry. Yeah, so I think we've always existed. We just haven't had the opportunities, and I think that people also are very lazy in their search. I think like people literally like there's a couple of tokens everywhere. And I think that a lot of people just go to these tokens, and because they're just going to these same tokens, you think that they don't exist. But honestly, there's so many BIPOC cinematographers, DPs, and literally in every single role, it's just they
Hmm.
might not be in the union, or no one's giving them the
Yeah.
call, or no one's giving them the opportunity. So I think it's also our responsibility too. If you have higher power, hire someone that is BIPOC. And that's one thing that I've been doing as much as possible. Like if someone hires me as a DP, I actually have higher power to pick who's my first, who's my second, who's my grip gaff. Like if I get in on the job early enough, I actually have say in these things. So I really do try to crew people that are BIPOC, that are women, that people that don't really get opportunities. And I think that that's something that all of us can do in whatever role we are, even as PAs, to be honest. Like when I was PAing a lot, someone would be like, "Oh yeah, we need 4 PAs for this job." I'm like, "Oh, I know a couple people." You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's literally just planting these things in people's ear to get other people that look like you on set, because we exist. We just don't get the opportunity.
I almost feel like maybe instead of sitting around and feeling guilty and wondering, am I racist? You should just hire BIPOC creatives. Just like, just start with that, right? Like, that's a good starting point.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Uh, okay, so there's another question. I don't know if you can see the one from Staff Mill, which is, what are some cinem- movies that inspired you cinematography-wise?
I feel like that's such a hard question because my answer changes so often. Because I think I'm inspired by so much different things, but I think right now something that really inspired me is the TV show Dare Me on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially a show that's centered around cheerleaders, and I guess kind of just that teenage life of like being a cheerleader, being in school, dealing with teenage type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like about it is it's directed by women, and it's also DP'd and crewed by women as well.
Yeah.
So within all the shots, you can actually see the difference between like a female gaze and a male gaze. Like even within all of like the more inappropriate scenes, like women are always so empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not like I think honestly anyone who's into cinematography definitely taking that show. And they also used a phantom for their slow motion, and they have the most unique way of doing like slow motion shots. And I think that's definitely one show that really inspired me. And I think I would love to do a show like that.
So it's Dare Me, right? I just wrote it out.
Yeah, Dare Me. Yeah, Dare Me.
Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Honestly, it's a phenomenal show. Like they really make you sit with certain moments with the way that they use slow-mo. And I think that's kind of like my thing too. Like I really love slow motion because it just really forces you to just like zone in or focus on a specific moment that like the creator wants you to focus on. So I really enjoy that show.
Nice. Okay, so can you please talk about your training?
Training. Okay. So, I went to YouTube University. No, I'm joking. So essentially, no, so I actually am self-taught. I grew up really techie and nerdy, and I was just really obsessed with knowledge. When it came
Mm,
to photography and film and stuff, I just did a lot of reading, a lot of, YouTubing. I was also someone that was really big on like finding different things in the community, like programs or like photography workshops or like this class or this master class or this. So I did a lot of that. I went to school and dropped out because it was a waste of time. And
Mm,
sorry, excuse me. After I did that, I realized that you actually don't really need to go to school for film. And the
mm,
only benefit to school personally is just the network. And I think that's
mm,
why school is actually that's the benefit of school, I guess, for people of color because if we don't get these opportunities in X, Y, and Z, going to school allows you the network, but it also allows you the resources to build a reel or to actually make products that can help you outside of school. But if you're
mm,
someone like me that just tries to find a way regardless, like I like starting out, I didn't really care about which camera I was using. I was just like story. I just cared about that. You know, I was like I had crappy like vlogger cameras. Everything I had wasn't like super like high end anything, but I was just like, let me just shoot, let me just have fun, let me just do this. So yeah, definitely. What was the question again? Now I feel like I just trailed off.
your training, like your background, I
Oh
guess,
yes,
educational.
yes. Yes, I honestly, yes, I pretty much I dropped out of school. I went to the Art Institute in ATL and I dropped out because it was a waste of time. And yeah, self-taught. I literally just YouTube, being on sets, being around people and asking questions. And honestly, I email people all the time. Like I'll look up someone and I'll literally just email them a question or like I'll take a screenshot of something that they've done and I'd be like, oh, I really admire like the way that you did this. Like, can you kind of speak to how you did this or whatever? And just kind of opening up these dialogues and asking people questions about things that you're curious about. And also just kind of
Mm.
going through the rat hole of Google. Like I'll look up one thing about lenses and next thing you know, I'm like looking up cranes and all this other crazy stuff. So yeah, I think pretty much just self-taught.
Hmm. Nice.
But
Okay,
I
and
think
we
I
do
think
have
too,
one
like
from.
self-taught's actually sorry, I was
Oh,
gonna say
yeah.
being self-taught is also
No.
super good because I think when people go to school, they approach everything from a very like, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like this. And I think people that are self-taught, we have this aesthetic that breaks rules but looks really good. And because of that, as you get better and better, you start to learn those rules and then you learn how to break them even better. So I
Yeah.
think that's also the benefit of not going to school because like you're not confined by like certain rules that they tell you of doing things. You just do what looks good to you. And everyone's like, oh wow, I would have never done that because that breaks that rule. And I'm like, I didn't even know about that rule. I'm just shooting what looks good to me.
So break rules.
Yeah, yeah, break rules. Do what you want. It's film. There is no rules. We make them up.
Um, okay, so Miriam's asking if you had to deal with the male ego on the crew members not taking you seriously.
Oh, all the time. All the time. That's on like what I was saying earlier, that's kind of why I became a DP because like I would be directing things and DPs would literally tell me no when I'm asking them for a certain shot or I'm trying to get something done and I'm like the fact that you're challenging me on this I'm like all right cool so that forced me into being like it can't be that hard to be a DP. That's what I was thinking in my head. I'm like it cannot like it can't be that hard. I could teach myself. So the way I dealt with male egos was eliminating them
Wow.
from needing them in that way. You know what I mean? Like I I actually work with a lot of men that actually are great. Like my coworkers that I work with every day, like they're really dope. I don't really have any issues with them, but I do find that when I do have those challenges, sometimes it's hard to navigate. Like sometimes you want to speak out, but you're not in the position to, and sometimes you'll wait and you'll speak to someone else, or sometimes, to be honest, you won't really say anything. And I think it honestly depends on the situation and how empowered I feel. And it also depends on what role I'm in. Like if I'm DP, like no one's going to disrespect anyone on the set because when you're a DP or director, you have the most power over the energy and the vibe of your set essentially.
Mm, mm-hmm.
If I'm in a less empowered role, say if I don't know, second AC or whatever, and I don't really have that say, it's honestly tough. It's really tough. It also depends on like what the situation is because dealing with male ego, it's really difficult. And if it's a someone that you admire or if it's someone that's so much bigger or powerful, it really is difficult to want to say something.
Oh, think you just cut out on that last sentence.
Oh yeah, no. So I was just pretty much just saying like, yeah, it's really difficult to deal with male egos, but you just have to just stick up for yourself. And even if that means saying something that may make that person get heckled, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, you know? So for me, like when I started, I was really introverted, I was really shy, and I was just that person that did anything that anyone needed. But as I got older, I realized like you will be silenced in every room you don't speak in. You know what I mean? So if I'm gonna show up and always be quiet and not do anything and be a fly on the wall and oh, who needs water and whatever, like I'll be stuck kind of in that way, in that role essentially. So for me, it's like I started to be more vocal about things that I thought or things that I needed. Or if someone was rude, I would call it out. Like I've done jobs before, and I'm not gonna say names because I still work with this person, but we were shooting this thing in a vape store. And this one guy, he just continuously went on with this Jamaican accent, and it just kept infuriating me and infuriating me. And he was like, "Oh man, this shot looks so good, man. Oh, good shot, man." And like I just felt myself just start to bubble and just boil and boil. I'm like, "Can you stop?" And he just looked at me like, I'm like, "Do you see anybody laughing?" I'm like, "Do you see anyone?" Everybody felt so uncomfortable, but no one knew what to say. So I'm like, "Do you see anybody laughing?" And he felt so little in that moment that he's never done that Jamaican accent again.
Thank
But
you.
I didn't want to have to
Yeah.
embarrass him, but it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do that. And like you have to show people it's not funny. I'm like, one, I'm not even Jamaican. So you're like, I'm
Yeah.
not even Jamaican. Let's just
Yeah.
start there. And second of all, it's not funny. And he did it for like the whole shoot. Like this was like the fourth hour that I decided to say something. So I think, yeah, sometimes you have to just call people out, just be really honest.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that because if that means that he never did it again,
Not to me, not to me, not to me.
you might have done the world a favor there. um, I was just gonna. I don't think we have any. I think that was the end of the questions. Unless someone has another one, but I was wondering because I don't want us to get cut off. If you have any, I don't know, like final bits of advice or just like words of
Final pieces of
encouragement.
advice.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the only thing I would honestly say is just like shoot as much as you can.
Mhm.
And really try not to care what people think. Like I know everyone says don't care what people think, and I know that it's kind of hard to tell someone not to care what people think, but the people that are sitting there thinking about you and your work, they're not creating. They're not doing what you're trying to do. So if you becoming the best version of yourself means publicly displaying your growth, then do that. You know what I mean? Because I really do think that a lot of us stifle our growth and our progress because we're too busy like, oh, this is not good enough, or will this person like this, or da da da. And I really think that honestly, like, just keep putting out the where people will actually watch your work get better and better in front of their eyes. And I think that actually speaks more to you as a person than you doing, I don't know, one project every 3 years because you got like a $50,000 grant.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I rather do all these little small things where people are just like seeing me progress and progress and progress and get better. And I think that everyone should do that. Like who cares what people think because they're not even doing the work.
It's funny how like I think I can't really speak for too many other creative industries, but like trying to be a filmmaker and writing and shooting things, like you just for some reason I think because we always see like such finished products, polished products, like we just
Hmm.
want to skip ahead, right? And like have something be amazing. And I love what you just said because it we need to stop and remind ourselves as creators, like emerging creators, right, and amateurs that like you have to accept that you're gonna make mistakes and things are
Of
not
course. Of course. And honestly, don't beat yourself up.
yeah,
Like there's literally no such thing as a loss. Like everything is a lesson.
yeah,
And the thing is like the faster you fail, the less you'll fail doing the same things that you failed on. You know what I mean? So it's like if I set up this light wrong and I pinch my finger in the stand, I'll never do that again because I know what mistake I made that pinched my finger. And I think that the faster you fail and like you learn stuff and it's just honestly trial and error. This whole film thing is trial and error. What do you like? What do you don't like? What looks good to you? What settings do you like? What like just finding your flow just honestly takes you trying and failing over and over until you fail less.
Is that the concept of failing upward? I think that's the expression I've been hearing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because our
Because
culture
if you
has been
think about,
so like,
yeah,
yeah, like negative about failure, right? For so long, like the concept of failure.
that's the thing. But it's just like you just have to realize like you only make the same mistakes once, hopefully.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
do.
only make the
Yeah,
yeah, and if you only make the same mistakes once, who cares? Make as many as you can so you don't make them anymore. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like every project I can show you 1,000 mistakes, but it's like I never made those same 1,000 on my next job and my
yeah,
next job. And you
yeah.
just continuously grow and learn, you know? So I think it's just really important for people to just go out and shoot and who cares?
I highly recommend to people just like build on what we were talking about to go look up directors that they admire and try to see like their earliest stuff, like
Oh,
really early, ideally the student films, because
oh
that is
man.
very like it's a good reminder that like everybody starts from somewhere.
Yeah, that honestly, I think that's actually the most humbling thing. If you look up someone's old work, you'll see like where they came from and like they didn't just wake up and get good. It's just the thing that we also forget. It's a lot of people that we admire, like they're up here, but we weren't even around for like their growing up and their learning, you know? Like a lot of the DPs that I admire, like they're much older than I am. They've been in the business for 15, 20 plus years, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
So you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you don't know what any of their earlier works, like your work actually could be better than their work at your age or at your time or X, Y, and Z, but you're comparing where you're at now to where they're at now, and they've been in this for 20 plus years than you.
I think Spielberg's like first movie, like very first short film, is on YouTube. If you look it up, it's like a truck, like a
Oh
sentient movie truck.
no.
It's it's pretty. I don't know. I mean, to each their own, you know. But it looks like early work. Let's just put it that way. You know what I mean? So
Oh my
even
gosh.
Spielberg, even Stevie.
No, but it's true. It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. I think the last thing I'll say too is like, I think when you're starting out, I think everyone should try to do like a documentary because I think
Mm-hmm.
documentary is one of the best tests for storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, when you always go to a documentary, you have an idea and it always changes because everything is dependent on factors that you literally don't have any control of.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to become a storyteller, either whether it be cinematography or as an editor or a director or anything, is like diving into documentary.
Yeah. That's a great
Because
tip.
it'll honestly, documentary will inform all of your other work, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest.
Yeah.
And it also teaches you like that run and gun fast mentality of like, go, 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 but then you can take mentality into all your other stuff. Think your headphones dying.
Yeah. No, I got a call. Someone tried to FaceTime me. Terrible timing. Okay, so we have 30 seconds. I just want to say before we cut off, thank you so, so, so much
Of
for
course.
all your advice, your knowledge, your wisdom. We really, really appreciate it. And I think I can speak for everyone in saying that was awesome. And do you want to say something just before we cut off? We have like 15 seconds.
Not really. Just go out there, shoot, follow me on IG,
Yeah.
stay connected. If anyone wants to collab, holla at me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all.
Higher. Higher. High top.
Hey, okay. So I've just got to give you. There we go.